This news update is brought to you by...
Say hello to Chelsea. Chelsea is a champion surfer, so she's accustomed to moving super fast, which is why she relies on super fast broadband brought to her through Flow's 100% fiber to the home network. It keeps her family sharing and surfing and saving each month. Combined, she bundles her Flow mobile, home phone, and TV services, so she can enjoy much more for much less, and so can you. Visit any Flow retail outlet, call 1-800-804-2994, or visit discoverflow.co to find out more. One-of-a-kind connection. This is how we flow.
This is the Barbados Today Evening News Update for Monday, March 7th. Thank you for joining us. I am Marie-Claire Williams. Our top story this evening, there is still no end in sight to the ongoing pay dispute between the Grantley Adams International Airport and the National Union of Public Workers, despite the intervention of Labour Minister Dr Esther Byer-Suckoo. The parties have been locked in talks for most of today. The matter was referred to Dr Byer-Suckoo after talks with the Chief Labour Officer Vincent Burnett broke down last week. Barbados Today's Emmanuel Joseph is following today's meeting and filed this report.
It's been more than 6 hours now since Minister of Labour Dr Esther Byer-Suckoo has been meeting with the management of the Grantley Adams International Airport and the National Union of Public Workers over the long-standing pay dispute. At one point in time, the minister met with the union delegation for about 4 hours and with the management of the airport for about an hour separately. She's now brought both parties together, and they're behind closed doors, and they've been meeting for just over half an hour right at this point in time. And as you will recall, this is over a 3.5% increase, which the union says is owed to the airport workers. So to summarize, Minister of Labour Dr Esther Byer-Suckoo meeting with the management of the airport and the National Union of Public Workers to try to resolve this long-standing dispute. From the Labour Department in Warren, Emmanuel Joseph for Barbados Today.
Political scientist Dr George Belle is recommending that the opposition Barbados Labour Party change its narrative if it wants to win the next general election. Dr Belle told the BLP's St. Philip North branch meeting last night that the party also has to renew itself and focus on social democracy.
If you can respond to these well-known people here in the right way, you can tell them that the party, your party, built social democracy, and you have to defend it. And it gives you hope for the future. Greediness is not going to give you that. Selfishness is not going to give you that. Careerism is not going to give you that. So a big part of the responsibility of the Barbados Labour Party is that narrative. But I don't know if you have time to do it for the next election. I think you need to start. The next election will most likely be one on the very traditional way. I told you at the very beginning of this speech that the other party will lose. The other party will lose and you will win. Okay? But if you're going to win too, in terms of that too, you also have to be organized on the ground.
Sports Minister Stephen Lashley says events like last weekend's Gold Cup continue to boost the island's sports tourism product. The premier event was won by jockey Jalon Samuel astride Dorset, and is said to have drawn one of the biggest crowds this year.
I think it's great. I certainly want to, first of all, congratulate the Barbadian public for coming out to this race, because I believe this is probably one of the biggest crowds we've had at the Gold Cup so far. And I think that this is fantastic. It tells us that sports tourism is going in the right direction. It tells us that sport still has that pull to ensure that we can create that injection that is necessary into the economy. And I was asking Sir David earlier this afternoon what kind of investment in terms of the economic impact that this race has had over the years. And we're talking about millions of dollars that this particular horse race generates in Barbados. So I'm very happy. I think that the Barbadian crowds have come out again this year to demonstrate that they are supporting sports in a big way, and in particular the Sandalane Gold Cup.
West Indies have arrived in Kolkata to begin final preparations for the 2020 World Cup, which bowls off tomorrow. They spent the last 2 weeks in a preparation camp in Dubai, where they also played 4 unofficial T20 warm-up matches. Darren Sammy's men are scheduled to play 2 official warm-up matches against India on Thursday and Australia on Sunday.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Secure your future, be financially strong. Since 1983, we have been there for you. A smart range of products, great tax benefits.
newspapers is selling at all. Get your paper. Only $2.25, get your paper. Get your paper, miss. Look, take it, I can pay for it. Barbados today, all the way.
Barbados Today, news you can trust.
In news from the region, prison officers in Trinidad have filed a constitutional motion against the state following the murder of one of their colleagues last week. The officers say their lives and security are under threat. Fitzalbert Victor was the second officer to be killed in the past 5 months, and police say his murder was ordered from within the prison. Meanwhile, the officers are calling on Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley to take steps to safeguard their security.
Dr. Keith Rowley, so far, you are given a failure grade by the Prison Officers Association. A failure grade. And don't tell prison officers, God, of course you are a manager and you can tell prison officers you owe a duty to the citizenry. But do you, Dr. Keith Rowley and your government, owe a duty to prison officers? You are not working. So tear a page from your own book. When you're talking about prison officers go to work, you too and your government go to work and treat with the issue facing prison officers.
In Guyana, the David Granger administration says it is exploring options for medium and long-term solutions to the challenges facing the country's prison service. The statement follows last week's riot at the Camp Street jail in the capital, Georgetown, which left 17 inmates dead and several others injured. A statement from the government said President David Granger and other officials visited the Mazaruni penal settlement. Granger said last week's riot was the worst in the country's history and an indication that there are endemic problems in the prison service that must be resolved. On the international scene, European Union leaders are meeting in Brussels to discuss Europe's worst refugee crisis since World War II. The EU is pressing Turkey to take back some migrants in return for $3.3 billion in aid, but Ankara is asking for that sum to be doubled. We get more in this BBC report.
Today is about stopping this. And this. And this. Or at least trying to, at yet another emergency migration summit here in Brussels. The aim of the meeting neatly summed up this morning by the arriving Belgian Prime Minister. We must stop irregular migration, pure and simple, he said. Europe's migrant crisis is destroying the EU's reputation, ripping its member countries apart politically and geographically as borders are slammed shut. With the EU overwhelmed, NATO is now wading in to help, with a new mission aimed at stopping people smugglers. The British Royal Navy is taking part.
It's important that we help the continent of Europe to secure its external border. That's in our interests, and that's why we're sending British ships to do just that. But this does underline the special status that we have in this organisation, because, of course, we're not in the Schengen no-borders zone. We keep our own strong borders, so migrants that come to Europe aren't able to come to the UK.
If any one country holds the key to alleviating this crisis, it's Turkey, not an EU nation, though it wants to be. The Turkish Prime Minister is arguably the most watched leader at this summit. The EU wants Turkey to stop people smugglers on its beaches and to take back all migrants the EU judges not to be in need of its protection.
And that's the news this evening. Remember, there's more on our website, www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, and like us on Facebook. We're on Izumi Media in bus terminals and Screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. You can also tune in to Channel 99 on Flow TV or Mix 96.9 FM for more news and sports. I am Maricla Williams. Have a good evening.